All right, well, today I wanted to talk about my horrendous Thanksgiving dinner that happened a few days ago at my aunt's house. So, for context, my mom's side of the family is absolutely batshit crazy. All the bad genes have come from that side of the family: obesity, male pattern baldness, you name it. For context, my aunt is a huge alcoholic. She drinks her face off every single night. And if you looked up the word boomer in the dictionary, you'd see a picture of my uncle in there. He's super overweight with Mr. Burns haircut, but dark hair. My grandmom is the typical German grandmom that still thinks it's we're living back in the Stone Ages. Whatever she hears on the news, she always brings up. I remember when I was back in college, she was like, "I saw somebody flip a car at your university. You better not be hanging out with those kids, and you better not be flipping a freaking car." I'm like, "Do you think I would be?" I was like, "Do you really think I would flip a freaking car, grandmom?" My cousin also, he lives with my aunt, and he looks like me when I was overweight and balding many years ago. So I get there at the time my mom told me. I feel like my mom always tells me to arrive 30 minutes before dinner actually starts. She was like, "Oh yeah, show up at 5 o'clock is when dinner gonna start." Show up at 5 and they were still cooking dinner. It was kind of crazy. For some reason, when I got there, it was just my aunt and uncle. So when I knocked on the door, I hear, "Who's there?" And I'm freaked out. My uncle's also a bit of a conspiracy theorist. He's always talking really, really crazy. He's always talking about some conspiracy. He's a big Alex Jones fan. He's an Alex Jones. Would be like Alex Jones's twin in a way. He kind of resembles him. And I'm like, "I'm here." And then my aunt comes to the door and she gives me a hug. And she immediately grabs my shoulder. And she's like, "Hey, you need to help your cousin. I can't get him to get out of the house. He really needs you. He really needs a friend." And she said this so frantically as well. And I was like, yeah, no problem. I'll hang out with him. And she was like, "Do you know any girls his age?" And my cousin's 24. And I was like, not too many. I know a few. And she was like, "You got to get him out of the house. I'm scared he's just never going to find a girlfriend. And can you take him to a bar? Can you help him meet women?" And I'm down to hang out with him. I'm down to, chill, down to give him advice. And he's like, "Yeah." And he also he's trying to lose weight. He's doing well. He's down about 50 pounds, but you lost a weight. She's like, "You lost a lot of weight. You used to be really fat." And I was like, "Oh my God." My aunt is just so straightforward. She has zero filter whatsoever. She's like, maybe he can come to the gym with you. You could train him." And I'm thinking when I go to the gym, I like to work out by myself, and I typically work out early in the morning, kind of right when I wake up. And I'm I am not going to coordinate with my cousin and give him rides. My cousin, I don't even think he has a car. I'm not. The last thing I wanted to do is wake up before work, drive to my aunt's house, pick up my cousin, and bring him to the gym. There's no way in hell I'm doing that. And I was thinking, I'm fuck, I just got here. Just chill out. I just walk through the door and you're freaking asking me to do all this stuff. And I was yeah, I'm happy to help him. I'm happy to talk with him. Cause I know what it's to be really overweight. I get it. So we go back in the kitchen and my uncle was cutting the turkey. And then my aunt was like, "Can you hurry up? Everyone's going to get here soon." And my uncle's like, "Don't tell me what to do. I'm going to cut the turkey and you're going to be the one to take it out to the table. Just shut up." He was just wasn't having it. My uncle is either really pissed off, this really gruff voice, or he's just cracking up hysterically and trying to tell you about his conspiracy theories that he has. So I see my mom and my grandma coming through the backyard, and my uncle looks up, and there's a window near there, and he's like, "Oh geez, the libs are here." And I don't know, my uncle, as you can tell, he's super far right. He follows Alex Jones, and my mom and my grandma are really liberal. So you've got the far left and the far right, and every holiday it always comes out, always turns into some sort of big argument and tension. And I don't know, there's just always been tension between them. I let them in, and my uncle just ignores them. My mom and grandma went to try to give him a hug. He's like, "I'm busy cutting the turkey. I can't right now." And he shook my hand though, when I came in. We're fairly cool. I don't know. So my cousin comes down from his room, and I use this as a chance to go out in the living room and we chat on the couch, and while everyone else is in the kitchen. I found that at holidays, you always want to stay far away from the kitchen. Nothing good comes from like being in the kitchen at holidays. There's always tension. There's always arguments. Like, so we just stayed out of the kitchen. And, we just talked about work and some funny things on the news and the internet. And so after a couple minutes, after about 15 minutes, my aunt tells us, "Dinner's ready!" Like, she shouted at the top of her lungs too. Like, I don't know what it is, but my aunt always yells it like hysterically loud. Like, we're probably 20 feet away, and she's like, "Dinner's ready!" It's like, we're all like jolted. Like, so we all sit down at the table, and of course it's just dead silence. There's a lot of tension. There's like a lot of hurt feelings and just overall like bad vibes on this side of the family for a lot of reasons. Like, there's been a lot of family arguments, a lot of family drama in the past, and every holiday is just, it's always a shit show. It goes from bad to worse, and my aunt's like bringing out the turkey. All the other stuff like came out successfully and got on the table, but she's bringing out the turkey from the kitchen, and I don't know, like my aunt has some like, I don't know what disorder she has, but she starts to like wobble, and then her like leg gives out, and of course the turkey just flies to the ground and just goes all over the dining room floor. All the pieces of turkey just go everywhere, and there's probably like half the turkey remains on the like the pan, but most of it like fell out on the floor, and she's like, she just starts like crying hysterically and like, what to do? Starts like hyperventilating, and my grandmom like immediately said, "What the hell? Why didn't you have one of them come bring it out?" And she pointed to me and my uncle, and then like my uncle chimed in, and she's like, "Just rinse it off in the sink." And she's like, "No, that's disgusting." It was like, I don't know, it was just crazy. He's like, "We don't have another one. That's all we have." So he then got up, he like grabbed the big pieces of turkey that are like all over the floor, and like then went to the sink. He like rinses them off. He's like cursing up a storm. Like, it was just freaking crazy. And then my cousin mom and I are just sitting there, and like I'm dying with laughter. Like, I'm trying not to laugh like really loud, and like they can hear us laughing from the kitchen. And my grandma was like, "Be quiet, it's not funny." My mom then says, "Okay, no smiling, frowns all around." Yeah, then my aunt yells back, "Don't be a martyr, don't be a martyr." And like I stand up and I'm like, come on, that's uncalled for. It's just like my mom, my aunt, I feel like they have this like competition, because my mom always wants to have Thanksgiving at her place, and my aunt always wants to have Thanksgiving and Christmas at her place, and they've always kind of had like tension between the two. So like when my aunt called her a martyr, like I was like, I gotta say something. Like, I've got to stand up for my mom, you know, at least a little bit. And I don't know, it was just crazy. And I was like, come on, like that's uncalled for. So after about 15 minutes, things kind of simmer down a bit, and we finally pass out the turkey, stuffing the rest of the food. And my grandmom then sent this to my cousin. I don't know why the hell she said this, because like, but she's like, "Wow, you really lost some weight. You look like you lost some weight." And then he's like, "Yeah, I lost 50 pounds. And my aunt then said, yeah, he's doing really well. And my grandmom says to my cousin that he's like, "You better not eat another serving of bread then." And then she's just like, my grandmom has no filter as well. Like, so my cousin says like, "I'd appreciate it if you didn't criticize me, okay?" And after he said this, it just got even more awkward. Like, nobody talked for like 10 minutes, and I was just trying not to crack up laughing. And then my aunt then looks at me, and she like stares at me for a couple seconds, and I'm like thinking, ugh, she's either going to ask me about work, or she's going to ask about whether I have a girlfriend. I'm like, oh my gosh. And what do you know? Golly wah. She's like, so where's your girlfriend? And I was like, I don't have a girlfriend now. She's like, oh, really? Like, you're still not together with, she says, like, a girl I used to date like 2 years ago. And I'm like, no, he broke up like a while back. And she's like, oh, that's such a shame. Like, she was such a nice girl. Like, you should have kept her. Like, what happened? And I'm like, oh God. I really don't want to explain it. Like, it's a long story. And she's like, but come on, like, I really liked her. Like, I met her before. She was so nice. You guys get along so well. And like, she was like really pushing the envelope. And I was just like, yeah, like, there's just communication issues. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, there's a lot more behind communication issues. Like, she actually had a pretty like crazy Italian family, but I just kind of played it off, and then I like excused myself to go to the bathroom. I feel like I always have to excuse myself and go to the bathroom. That's one thing I'll do to like kind of minimize the time around my family, like my mom's side of the family, is like I'll do like 2 bathroom breaks, like one in the middle of dinner and then one in the middle of dessert, and like I don't even have to go to the bathroom. I'm just like sitting in the bathroom, just like scrolling on my phone, just to like pass the time. Once I got back, she's like, well, whenever you get a girlfriend, you'll have to bring her over for dinner sometime. Like, we'll cook her some good dessert. Like, we'll make sure she's comfortable. And I was like thinking in my head, I was like, yeah, I brought 2 girls in the past to my aunt's house for either Easter, Thanksgiving, or Christmas. And like, I always felt like super embarrassed. Like, literally, it's like, hey, here's my obese, balding, sub-5 family. Welcome. Stay a while. Yeah, like, I'd just rather not like introduce someone unless you've been dating for a good amount of time, because my mom's side is like the family you have to explain. Like, I know everyone has that one friend you have to explain, but this is exactly how my mom's side of the family is. Like, it's just extremely embarrassing. So once we finish dinner, my aunt brings out coffee and like the pumpkin pie and apple pie. And by this point, like, both my aunt and uncle have had a ton of alcohol. Like, my aunt was just like running through glasses of wine like a sugar baby goes through a sugar daddy's wallet. My aunt was literally like grabbing the pie with her hands. Like, she was like stuffing her hands into the pumpkin pie and then like putting it in her mouth and like licking her fingers. It's just like so funny. And I don't know, everyone was just like, I was just dying seeing this. And then she was like so drunk that she didn't like, I don't know, she didn't slice it herself, and she was like, just guzzling the wine and just pouring more. She was like pouring the wine in her glass, and it was like starting to like overflow, and my uncle was like, you've had enough. It was just crazy. My uncle just lets out like a huge like belch and then starts talking about the election next year. My uncle's like blabbing to my grandmom about a conspiracy theory that he has, and my grandmom's like, be quiet, we don't need to hear your bullshit. And he's like, I can say whatever I want, this is my fucking house. And I look at my mom, and I was like, I gave her that look. I'm like, I gotta get out of here. So I like stand up once everyone like finished their pie, and I'm like, hey, I gotta get out of here. Like, I gotta meet up with a friend. This was great. And I didn't have to meet up with a friend, but I was like so drained from like all this stuff. And my aunt like was like, oh, let me just pack you some to-go food. And she packed to-go food for everyone. And I helped my mom and grandma like take the food out to their car. And then when I get back inside, like, my aunt and my mom are just like bawling hysterically. They're like, I wish our family didn't fight. I hate this. Like, I just want everyone to be happy. I want everyone to get along. And I was just like, I don't know. Like, I talked to my cousin outside, like, while this was happening. And like, I was like, dude, like, we got a crazy ass family. No, we were just talking for a little bit. I gave him some like weight loss advice, because I know what it's like to be very overweight. I was like, dude, we gotta shoot pool sometime. Like, we'll talk more about our crazy family outside of here. Oh, honestly, it's really tough having a crazy family. Like, I really feel like the times I've introduced women to my family, it was always like a losing sum game. It was like they would look around at my like, my uncle, my aunt, like my grandmom, like they just hear everything that happened this time, like outside of the turkey dropping. Pretty much it happens every single holiday. And I feel like when a woman sees that, or a girl sees that, they're like, yeah, I'm not staying with this guy. This can't be every holiday for me. I'm good. And I'm like, yeah, this is my DNA. Don't hold it against me too much. Well, if you've enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a like. Feel free to comment down below any crazy holiday stories with your family, and feel free to subscribe. Until next time, take care.